Have you ever felt like you were drowning in darkness? Like everything meaningful in your life had been stripped away? What if I told you that these moments of profound despair aren't just random suffering, but actually sacred thresholds? Ancient initiatory experiences that have been recognized across cultures for millennia? Carl Jung called this experience the night sea journey, a descent into the unconscious depths that precedes genuine transformation. And today I'm going to show you why your darkest moments might actually be the most spiritually significant experiences of your life. Whether you're currently in the midst of such a journey or have emerged from one in the past, understanding this process can transform how you relate to suffering itself. By the end of this video, you'll see your darkest experiences through an entirely new lens. The night sea journey is a profound psychological and spiritual concept that appears in mythology worldwide. From Jonah and the whale to the Egyptian sun god Ra's nightly journey through the underworld. Jung recognized this as a universal pattern in the human psyche, not just a cultural motif. At its core, the night sea journey represents a period of psychological death and rebirth. It's when we lose our bearings, when old identities and certainties dissolve, and we're forced to navigate the unknown waters of our deepest selves. This isn't just poetic language. It's a psychological reality that many of us experience during major life transitions, losses, depressions, or spiritual crises. What makes these experiences so challenging is precisely what makes them valuable. They strip away our defenses and force us to confront aspects of ourselves and reality that we've been avoiding. Throughout this video, we'll explore the stages of this journey, how to recognize when you're in one, practical ways to navigate these waters, and, most importantly, how to harvest the profound wisdom that only becomes available through this descent. I know that if you're currently experiencing such a dark night, concepts and theories might seem hollow. I honor that pain. But I also know that understanding can be a lifeline when we're drowning, and that's what I hope to offer today. The night sea journey follows a pattern that Jung observed across cultures and in the dreams and experiences of his patients. This pattern typically involves separation, a breaking away from normal life, often triggered by loss, failure, illness, or an existential crisis. This is when the ego's control begins to weaken. 2. Descent, the painful immersion in unconscious material, emotions, memories, and aspects of self that have been repressed or denied. This often feels like being swallowed by darkness. 3. Nadir, the lowest point where one feels completely lost, abandoned, or annihilated. Jung called this the dark night of the soul, borrowing from mystical traditions. 4. Recognition, a pivotal moment where something shifts in consciousness, perhaps an insight, surrender, or encounter with a deeper part of the self. 5. Return, the gradual reemergence, bringing back treasures from the depths, new awareness, authenticity, and often a more integrated relationship with the unconscious. What distinguishes the night sea journey from ordinary suffering is its transformative nature. It's not just pain. It's pain with purpose, a dismantling that makes way for something new to emerge. Jung understood that the ego, our conscious identity, must periodically die to allow for psychological renewal. This death isn't literal but experiential. It feels like a kind of dying because the self-concept we've constructed and identified with is being dissolved. This process parallels what anthropologists call initiatory death in traditional societies, where initiates undergo symbolic death experiences to be reborn into new social roles. The difference is that in modern society, we often undergo these initiations without community support or cultural frameworks to make sense of them. The dissolution of ego structures creates space for what Jung called the self, the organizing center of the total personality, including both conscious and unconscious elements, to emerge more fully. This is why many who emerge from night sea journeys report feeling more themselves than ever before, despite having lost what they previously thought of as their identity. The night sea journey inevitably brings us face to face with our shadow, the disowned, repressed, or denied aspects of ourselves. These encounters are often frightening because they challenge our self-image and reveal parts of ourselves we've worked hard to keep hidden. Jung observed that the shadow appears in dreams and visions during these periods as threatening figures, monsters, or overwhelming forces. Yet paradoxically, it's precisely these shadow elements that contain the energy and authenticity we need for renewal. When we resist the shadow, the journey becomes more painful and prolonged. When we find the courage to turn toward it, to engage with our fear, rage, grief, or shame, we discover that these emotions contain wisdom and vitality that has been locked away. This is why Jung famously said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." Here are some signs that you may be undergoing a night sea journey. A persistent sense of meaninglessness or emptiness. Loss of interest in things that once motivated you. Feeling disconnected from your former identity. Intense dreams, especially involving water, darkness, death, or rebirth symbols. A sense of being between lives or in a liminal space. Heightened sensitivity to symbolic material. Unexpected emotional reactions that seem disproportionate. Physical symptoms that don't respond to treatment. A feeling of being called to something even if you can't identify what. Are you experiencing any of these signs? If so, how long have they been present? Journal about what feels like it's dying or being dissolved in your life right now. When you recognize you're in a night sea journey, these approaches can help you navigate it with more awareness and less unnecessary suffering. This might include regular journaling, especially first thing in the morning, working with a therapist trained in depth psychology, artistic expression, painting, music, movement, or poetry, dream work, recording, and reflecting on dreams. Body-centered practices like yoga or authentic movement. Develop a symbolic perspective. Learning to see your experience symbolically rather than literally can transform how you relate to it. Ask, what is this experience trying to teach me? Look for mythological parallels to your situation. Notice recurring symbols in your dreams and daily life. Consider what archetypal pattern might be constellating. Practice conscious surrender. The ego's instinct is to fight against dissolution, but this only prolongs suffering. Distinguish between what you can and cannot control. Practice mindful acceptance of difficult emotions. Develop rituals of letting go. Find ways to honor what's being lost. Seek appropriate support. While the journey is ultimately personal, you don't have to face it alone. Connect with others who understand this process. Read accounts of others who have undergone similar transformations. Consider joining a support group or community. Be selective about who you share your experience with. Maintain basic self-care. The basics become even more important during these times. Prioritize sleep and rest. Maintain connection with nature. Keep some structure in your days. Simplify your life where possible. Premature attempts to escape. When the pain becomes intense, there's a natural desire to escape it through distraction, substance use, or forcing positive thinking. This actually prolongs the journey. Solution. Develop a practice of turning toward difficult emotions for short, manageable periods. Start with just 5 minutes of fully feeling what's present, then gradually extend this capacity. 2. Intellectualization. Using psychological concepts to avoid actually feeling the emotions of the journey. Solution. Balance intellectual understanding with embodied practices. Ask yourself, where do I feel this in my body right now? And stay with that sensation. 3. Identification with the process. Becoming attached to the suffering itself or making it part of your identity. Solution. Remember that you are not your journey. You are the awareness experiencing it. Practice witnessing your experience rather than being completely immersed in it. 4. Lack of meaning. Framework. Without a framework to make meaning of suffering, it can feel random and purposeless. Solution. Explore different mythological, spiritual, or psychological frameworks that resonate with you. You don't have to adopt any single perspective completely. To illustrate these principles, let me share 3 brief examples of individuals who navigated their night sea journeys. Gradually, the water in her dreams changed from threatening to nurturing. 2 years later, she reported feeling reborn with a purpose, and now leads grief support groups. David's story. A high-achieving executive, David experienced a complete breakdown after his company failed. His identity shattered. He fell into a depression that medication couldn't touch. What helped was joining a men's group where he could express his shame and rage. Through drumming and storytelling, he connected with parts of himself he'd never acknowledged. Today, he says the breakdown was the best thing that ever happened to me because it forced him to discover who he was beyond achievement. Sophia's story. After a spiritual awakening that initially felt blissful, Sophia entered what mystics call the dark night of the soul. Everything that had seemed meaningful became empty. She felt abandoned by the divine. Working with a spiritual director who understood this process, she learned to sit in the emptiness without trying to escape it. Eventually, she emerged with what she describes as a faith beyond belief, a direct knowing that transcended her previous religious concepts. Reflective questions. What parts of these stories resonate with your own experience? If you were to imagine your current challenge as a mythological journey, what would be the treasure you're seeking? What might need to die in you for something new to be born? The transformative pattern of the night sea journey manifests in various aspects of our lives. In career and purpose. Career crises, job loss, or burnout can initiate profound night sea journeys. What seemed meaningful work may suddenly feel empty, forcing a reevaluation of purpose. Many who emerge from these crises discover vocations rather than just occupations, work that connects to deeper values and authentic gifts. In health challenges, serious illness or chronic conditions often trigger night sea journeys as they force us to confront mortality and redefine our relationship with the body. Many report that while they would never choose their illness, they wouldn't trade the wisdom it brought them. In midlife transitions, Jung particularly noted the importance of the midlife transition, roughly ages 35-50, as a time when many experience a night sea journey. The values and goals that guided the first half of life no longer satisfy, leading to what he called the afternoon of life, which requires a different orientation. In spiritual development, virtually all spiritual traditions recognize some form of the night sea journey as essential to genuine spiritual maturation. Whether called the dark night of the soul, the cloud of unknowing, or the valley of the shadow of death, this passage marks the transition from a conceptual to an embodied spirituality. Those who fully engage with their night sea journeys often report lasting changes. Greater compassion. Having faced our own suffering consciously, we develop genuine empathy for others' pain. 3. Reduced fear of the unknown. Having survived the dissolution of certainty, the unknown becomes less threatening. 4. Access to creative energy. Many report heightened creativity after these journeys as if a channel to the unconscious remains more open. 5. Authentic spirituality. A direct relationship with the numinous that doesn't depend on external validation or dogma. 6. Comfort with paradox. The ability to hold opposing truths simultaneously without needing to resolve the tension. 7. Deeper capacity for joy. Counterintuitively, those who have fully experienced their depths often access heights of joy unavailable before. While Jung's framework provides one way to understand these experiences, other traditions offer complementary insights. Indigenous wisdom traditions provide community-based rituals for supporting individuals through initiatory experiences. Contemporary trauma research by figures like Peter Levine and Bessel van der Kolk validates the body's role in processing difficult experiences and offers somatic approaches to integration. Jung's work suggests that not only individuals, but entire cultures undergo night sea journeys. Many scholars argue that our current global crises, ecological, political, and social, represent a collective night sea journey as old paradigms collapse. In times of cultural transition, individual night sea journeys take on added significance. Those who navigate their personal depths consciously may become what Jung called temenos, containers that help hold the collective transformation process. This perspective invites us to see our personal struggles as potentially meaningful, not just for our individual development, but for the larger cultural and planetary transformation underway. Invitation to experimentation. Consider how your own night sea journey might connect to larger patterns of transformation. What wisdom from your personal descent might be valuable not just for you, but for others navigating similar waters. As we draw our exploration to a close, I want to speak directly to wherever you find yourself on this journey. If you're currently in the depths, feeling lost, overwhelmed, or broken, know that you are not alone. Throughout human history, countless others have traveled these waters. What you're experiencing has a pattern and purpose, even when it feels chaotic and meaningless. The very darkness that seems to be destroying you is actually preparing you for a rebirth you cannot yet imagine. If you're beginning to emerge from such a journey, you may be experiencing the disorientation of return. Like a deep-sea diver who must decompress slowly, give yourself time to integrate. The insights and transformations you've undergone need to be carefully woven into your daily life. And if you've completed such a journey in the past, you carry wisdom that our world desperately needs. Your scars are credentials. Having descended and returned, you can now serve as a guide for others facing similar passages. The night sea journey teaches us perhaps the most profound lesson of psychological and spiritual development, that we must periodically let ourselves be undone in order to become more fully who we are. As Jung wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." In a culture that pathologizes darkness and worships comfort, choosing to engage consciously with our depths is a revolutionary act. Remember that in virtually every myth of descent, the hero or heroine returns with a gift, something precious that could only be obtained in the depths. Your journey, too, carries a gift that is uniquely yours to bring back to the world. As you continue on your path, may you find the courage to trust the darkness, to surrender to the process of transformation, and to recognize the profound initiation that your most difficult experiences offer. For it is often in our darkest moments that we discover our most enduring light. I'd love to hear about your own experiences with night sea journeys. What has been your darkest moment, and what wisdom or transformation emerged from it? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might be exactly what another viewer needs to hear right now. If you know someone who's currently navigating difficult waters, someone facing loss, transition, or existential questions, consider sharing this video with them. Sometimes understanding the archetypal nature of our suffering can be the first step toward finding meaning in it. For more on psychological transformation, check out our videos on the dark side of your personality that's actually your greatest gift, shadow integration, or the exact questions to ask yourself for profound self-discovery, Jungian self-analysis. Thank you for joining me in this deep dive into the night sea journey. Until next time, may you find meaning in your darkness and emerge transformed by your depths.